The, the good news about recording is we have the ability to edit, so we can talk for a moment before the editing begins. Welcome everybody to our featured interview. We do this approximately once a month. Welcome to the Freedom Team. If you're a guest looking at this for the first time, or by chance you're listening to sound bites, we're super excited that you're here and looking at why so many people have been attracted to EXP, especially over the last 4.5 to 5 years. Today, we're honored to have an executive guest on like we normally do, but this guy's a little special. He's not only an executive with the company, but he's also a good buddy of most of ours. So we're excited to have him. We'll get him started in just one moment. I want to welcome everybody as you're coming in. It's always a good idea when you're in any Zoom. I'll give you a Zoom protocol. It's always a good idea to keep your camera on. And the reason it keeps your camera on is it keeps your focus here. As weird as it may sound, if you're playing the game where you're just sort of listening, I promise you all you're going to be doing is just sort of listening. There's no requirement to keep your camera on. We're glad that you're here anyway, but we are excited about those of you that want to wave and smile every time Sean does something or doesn't do something. But we're going to do the 20 questions today like we normally do. And again, look forward to our next training. We'll give you the date on that. We do believe it's going to be luxury related. We're going to talk about the luxury market, why so many luxury agents are now coming to EXP, and what draws them here. Without any further ado, we're excited. Today is the 15th of February, and we are honored today to have EXP's Vice President of Growth, Sean Murphy, with us for a 20-question interview with the Freedom Team. I want to remind everybody the Freedom Team is a group of about 3,000 agents. Because of the leadership of 5 or 6 of us, we've pulled these 3,000 agents together to give you a little more than EXP already gives. And as most of us already know, EXP gives a boatload. What we do is give you snacks and a place to sleep. So it's awesome to have everybody here, and more awesome to have Mr. Sean Murphy here. Sean, your microphone's up. You know how to play the game. Hello, Sean. How are you?
How you doing, Eric? Glad to be here. Love being with the Freedom Group. I see some people that I've worked with for many years here, especially Kim. So
we're excited. No, we're excited to have you here. It's funny because you're in one end of the country. I think I'm on the other. I'm in Florida at the moment. You're in California, if I'm correct.
I am in San Diego, California.
Wow. Wow. Well, let's first of all, again, thank you for being here. But we'll get to all the specifics as we go through it, through the 20 questions. Let's start with the first one. It's always nice to jump right back in. But before I do that, did you have a nice Valentine's Day with the bride?
I did have a fantastic Valentine's Day with my wife. Went out and had sushi for Valentine's. Valentine's, weirdly enough, is always 1 week after her birthday. So it's birthday week, really. And Valentine's kind of winds it up, sort of like Mardi Gras. So.
But you can let her know that my birthday is February 2nd, and I take the whole month, so she can extend it if she would like.
But, yeah, don't give her any ideas.
We don't have to. We don't have to. Well, let's start with this. Sean Murphy, tell me where you grew up and what was life in the Murphy household early on?
Well, I grew up mostly in San Juan Capistrano, California. I was the son of the vice president of Revlon. So if any of you that know cosmetics, we moved around a lot. At some point there was a divorce in there. So my teen years were with a single mother raising 2 very rambunctious kids. I remember the neighbor knocking on the door and said, "Your son's jumping his bicycle over your car." And my mother said, "Let's just thank the maker that he's not jumping the car over the bicycle." So, and you know, my mother worked in education at University of California, Irvine, and was gone 6 to 6 every day. I was the definition of a latchkey kid, and all the trouble that went around with that. I was very directionless. I honestly, you know, I wasn't the smartest one in the block. I was creative, but I wasn't the smartest kid. I was really saved by the U.S. military. The Murphy household is what it is today because I joined the Navy when I was 16 years old. yes, your stepfather actually has to sign for that to happen, and he was very happy to do that.
It sounds like it's a story that we can get into at another time.
Yes.
You mentioned the military. Those of us that know you know that you were quite accomplished in the military for a period of time. Why don't you take us through that? Because we know that that somewhat formed what happened after that.
When I went into the military, I was a hand raiser. I went in specifically to become a U.S. Navy SEAL because that's what everybody sees on TV. That's what my uncle said I should be. That was the pinnacle. And to be fair, when I was looking at the Navy in 1979, 1980, there was no Top Gun. The closest thing you would have gotten to seen a Navy SEAL was a John Wayne Vietnam film, and it didn't look very attractive or fun, and everybody was shot and died. So I wanted to go in as a Navy SEAL, and I kept raising my hand for everything. When I was in boot camp, they were taking me out of boot camp early, and some guy goes, "Why does he get to get out early?" And they go, "You do not want to go where he's going. He doesn't want to go where he's going." And they took me to basic underwater dive school on Coronado, California, and put me on a pretty strict regiment of push-ups and obstacle course. So I really enjoyed the Navy. I ended up being a combat search and rescue swimmer in a helicopter squadron, and I also was weapons specialist. I was one of the very few Navy people on a ship that actually gets a gun. Nobody gets a weapon on a Navy ship. The ship's the weapon. So people would see me with the machine gun and go, how do you get one of those? Don't you have to be a Marine to have one of those? And, so it was very special. I got a couple commendations for some aircraft rescues. Let's have a tendency to crash the planes, and I go get them. I got to make an appearance in the first Top Gun movie as the rescue swimmer.
Wow.
They filmed it on the USS Enterprise, and that was where my squadron was stationed. And we flew around the Enterprise while they filmed it with cameras on board. And they said, "Well, here we go. We're going to land on board the ship, and you're going to be in the doorway for 2.8 seconds. And, you're going to be wearing a wetsuit." So that was fun. I mean, I really liked it. And to be fair, I would still be well, I wouldn't still be there. I'd be long retired, but I would have done a full 30-year tour in the military, was it not for the U.S. Congress. The Congress enacted a freeze on all bonuses for military personnel. So I was at my 6 years, and it was time to re-enlist. And they said, "Well, you won't get a bonus if you re-enlist." And I said, "Well, then I'll wait." And they go, "You can't. You were extended at the convenience of the Navy to go over to Libya and Beirut, so you can't extend again." So I opted to get out and go back to college, where I had a scholarship at Chapman University. So the Congress's inability to come together on a new funding package is the reason that I even went to college. So.
Well, you did transition through college, and again, we got into real estate. Let's talk about the early years of real estate. What attracted you to the industry, and what were the early years like, Mr. Murphy?
Book named a book by Robert Kiyosaki was what attracted me to real estate. I was a fine art designer with my beautiful wife. We were painting paintings for the Bellagio, the Mirage, Princess Cruise Lines, a lot of select people, and I broke my leg while surfing in 6 places. Spiral fracture. My orthopedic surgeon said I was going to pay for a very nice holiday for him and his family. So during that time, I was sitting on the couch, and I asked my stepfather, who then had become my friend by then, and I said, "What do you do?" And he goes, "Well, there's this book by Robert Kiyosaki, and you might want to read it. It's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You want to collect as many certificates and degrees as you can." And I went, "Huh." I go, "What do you think?" He goes, "Well, real estate." He goes, I think there's a very, very high ROI on that. It's very easy to get into, very inexpensive, very quicker than almost anything else. he goes, I think the average realtor makes like $65,000. He knew nothing, but so I got my real estate license, and by the time I got off crutches, I had my first 5 listings. I would go around the neighborhood on crutches and put an American flag in somebody's lawn and knock on their door and ask them for business, according to this sales success book for a company that doesn't even exist anymore. That's how I got into real estate. I had nothing else to do. I could not stand and paint. So yeah, it was a very, if you ask all these people, nobody said, hey, I'm 18, I'm going to go be a realtor. You all fell into it as a second career, a third career, a 5th career, or a buddy, or you wanted to save on your own property. But nobody just said, it's time to get my license. I turned 18.
You don't go from hobbling around and picking up 5 listings to vice president of growth at EXP. That's not a short run. Give us the highlights. And by the way, if I ask you about highlights,
Yep.
accommodations, awards from the real estate world, it isn't bragging. In fact, load it on us. We do want to know why you're in the position that you're in.
Well, the one thing I learned in the military was second place is just the first loser. So I don't do anything I can't win or I don't have the ability to win, except obviously golf. I don't win any golf games. I still enjoy it and I lose all the time. And I don't know why. Even my child says, you have a t-shirt that says second place is the first loser. Why do you still play golf? So, when I started in real estate, I found it to be a competition sport. I even talked to a prospective brokerage that was joining us yesterday, and she loved the gamification of real estate for her team against other teams. Thought our production leaderboard was awesome. Anyway, I was rookie of the year. I was top seller my 2nd year. By my 3rd year, I had my broker's license, and I didn't see myself being challenged at my brokerage, which was Prudential California Realty. They didn't exist. By the time I left, they had been bought by Berkshire Hathaway. I was sitting with the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, which was their realty division. And we were at the awards ceremony, and I was picking up all the awards. And he was admonishing the table for not using the affiliated services. And I just went, I'm out of here. So we went into, at that point, we went into the default market of 2006 through 2012, where I was the #1 agent in one of the hardest markets in Southern California. My competitive agents were Jim Buttrell, Dan Beer, Kyle Whistle, Lauren Taylor, Jesse Zagorski, Brent Connolly. These guys they were monsters around it, and we all battled it out for real estate owned by bank contracts, REO contracts. Mm-hmm. And I was #1. Blue Tide Realty, my own brand, became #1 in San Diego County for real estate owned by banks and asset companies properties. So when people are saying, oh, there's 5 guys or 5 girls that own the whole world, it's no fair. We're like, no. It was true. Mm-hmm. It was true. We didn't want to publicize the fact, but banks will use their person until that person fails, then they'll move on to the next person. So after my own brokerage, which I did for 12 years, some slick guy who was the CEO of Keller Williams eventually talked me into joining and bringing my team to Keller Williams, then eventually talked me into taking over the market center and running the market center for him. Both Kim Herrera, who works with Sean and Eric here, Kim and I ran the #1 market center in Southern California for Keller Williams. We had 513 agents. Our last year we did I think it was in 18 or 19, we did $2.1 billion, 1,893 transactions. We were #1 in agents, volume, units, profitability, owner profitability, revenue share, every metric that company measured. And that market center had been in that position for 7 straight years.
And
so
there's got to be a story. You're in the number one position in probably the number one county in what some would argue to be a wonderful state, and you decide to move from a brokerage that is sitting on the top of the catbird seat to us. What happened?
Well, both Kim and I saw it. You don't have to be a psychic medium to see what's happening. Decreasing commissions, increasing expenses. EXPs came to me the weirdest way. We'll get into that, but it was presented to me 3 years before I could actually leave. You just don't sell a franchise. It's easy to get in. I mean, you trip and fall in a hole and welcome to the family. But getting out of that hole, they don't give you any rungs on the ladder. They don't give you any way out. They don't approve any sales. They try to stifle valuations. They don't want you to leave because you were the sucker. They don't want to go find another sucker. The franchise model is a hugely flawed model in real estate. And they all know it. So letting you off the hook, when we finally did find a buyer for that market center, I was out of there relatively quickly. I knew where it was going. I knew who had gone before me. I had watched our top teams transition over to EXP's top teams. You know, I had sat down with them. I was friends with the people that went to EXP, and I spent 7 years recruiting against them. Mm-hmm. And it was, I realized real quickly that I was playing mind games with the people to get them to join my brokerage. I was literally lying to them, you know, because it would come up, is this a great opportunity? Oh, this is a fantastic opportunity. You could not talk about the financial model. You could not talk about stocks and revenue share because we didn't have that. You had to talk about how much help you would give them being an actual realtor. You weren't lying. I will help you become a great realtor. So, you know, getting back to it, I had received every award that there was at my companies. All 3 of them. I was the top agent in my own market center. I still live in a community where I've sold more homes, personally sold more homes than any other agent in the last 20 years that this community has been here. And I haven't sold anything in the last 5 years in here. So, all right.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things we learn over the course of time, especially now with social media, everything's sound bites. Yep. So what I'm hoping to do over the next minute or two is ask you a question or two that will stimulate you to immediately give me a response that we, you and I and everybody else listening, can share with the world so they can understand why 1,000 agents a week are still moving to this company, why 80,000 agents or more have come to EXP in the last 5 years, and nobody else has ever seen anything like that. So you just referenced the fact that the broker model, the old broker model, for the most part, is broken. Soundbite. Yeah. Tell me what the 1, 2, or 3 things of the existing old broker model, what doesn't work anymore?
Cost of sales. A lot of agents know cost of sales is maybe you had to buy a referral, or maybe you had to pay another agent in the transaction. The typical archaic residential real estate model is the agent makes money, has to pay the office manager, who has to pay a regional director, who has to pay a franchisor. Well, we've removed that. Typical costs, I think last year I watched an Inman article, or I saw an Inman article where some brokerages have up to $4,000 to $8,000 is their cost per transaction to run their company. EXP's cost per transaction to run this company is $617. If any of these people started their companies today, they would never, doesn't matter who, doesn't matter if it's the big red company, the big blue company, they would never design it like they currently are stuck with. And they can't change it. You know, like the red company is not a brokerage. It is 800 separate brokerages with 800 separate owners. And they lament the fact that they didn't start it this way. We're simply we're simply the evolution of real estate and real estate models. They would love to be us right now.
That opens up to a lot of different directions. Let's go down one of them now. You talk about the fact that brokerages, the old broker model is broken. We partnered with about 450, 500 brokerages over the last 12 months. They've brought their entire brokerage. Some of them have maintained their images and their brand. Some of them have decided not to. Why do you think today, especially with what we're going through with the market over the last 6 months, why is now a terrific time for brokers who are watching EXP to really start a deep dive?
The last statistic I heard was the market was down 32%. 32% in the last 12 months. So if you were Eric Golden, ran a real estate brokerage or any business, a t-shirt company, and you had a 25% net profitability in your company, you'd be a hero of business. You'd be in business review journals for how Eric runs an efficient company. So if you're running the best possible small business, and that's all you agents are small businesses, if you're running the best possible small business, you're on stage at your national convention if you're at a 25% net profitable margin. Well, the market's down 32%. So what's the only thing you can guarantee about every small business and independent brokerage is that they're writing a check out of their personal bank account to cover their expenses right now. Well, that was supposed to last through whatever, COVID, a couple of interest rate hikes, and then we get back to normal. Well, it's not going away. We're 3 years into an increasing interest rate, a declining market, inflation. Their checkbooks are now getting thinner and thinner. So their opportunity here is to get rid of the expenses that cost real estate brokers all of their money. I know a lot of real estate brokers, and the brokerage is the least profitable aspect of their business. Usually their personal real estate team is number one. Their affiliated businesses like an escrow, a title, a mortgage company, a joint venture is number two. But the brokerage itself is the least profitable part of their model. And if you were to take their own production out of their own brokerage, it would be a failing business.
You look at brokerages all the time. We've heard numbers like, in order for you to justify a brokerage, you have to have a certain number of agents in order to make it cost justified. You just brought up a good point. If that broker pulls their own volume out of the brokerage, that number skyrockets to the number of agents that are needed. But in your position, because you deal with these people all the time, what is that sweet spot of number that an independent brokerage might need in order to sustain a profitability? And that number could be different for what you call a red or a blue company, because they've got other costs and expenses. Care to speak to either of those?
Well, for franchise models, it's a lot more production because you're paying the franchise fees as well as your own brokerage expenses. Lord help you if you have an expensive office, the franchise doesn't care. I know that at the big red company, they incubate their new market centers to at least 80 agents before they actually open the doors. It's a big model, lots of agents. I think you get profitable at like 150 agents. So if you're not there, that capping model of caps does not work for you if you're not at 150 agents. Some of the other ones, I'll tell you, the biggest word in real estate that causes the most problems is it's ego. They're sitting on a time bomb. They're failing in business, but it's several reasons. I developed it. My dad developed it. I put all my hard work in this. I've been told 1,000 times to leave it, and I'm going to stick with it. All of you know people that do things they should have given up a long time ago, like golf. For me, that the ego keeps you in it. Yeah, it literally is a person at a slot machine saying, I'm going to get my money back. I'm going to play this until I get my money back. And it's designed economically to make that physically impossible.
It's funny you say that they're designed to get their money back physically, because it's outside of what their competitive benefit is from. They don't have a competitive advantage in today's market, and they're fighting against that constantly. That's sort of like an NFL team that's got just a whole bunch of salaries, and they just don't have no moves left to bring in new and agile players. You do talk to brokers regularly. You just referenced ego as one reason why they don't come or look. But give us a couple of reasons, Sean, why do brokers that may be open-minded not look or look deeply at EXP? And then go one step further, why do they potentially not come?
Well, I found with the smaller brokerages, it's ego a lot, but with the mid-sized brokerages, I think it's because they have more than one owner. I've been talking to, I think my last 3 in-depth conversations are, well, I have a partner. Whether the partner's is silent or active in the business, I have a partner, and they really can't agree on what's happening with their own brokerage. When I talk to brokerages about coming to EXP, it's all about numbers. There's one of 2 kinds of brokers that are coming here. I'm looking out for my people, or I'm looking out for myself. One broker wants to see what the total cost or the individual cost per agent and the total cost will be for his agents. That is somebody who's helping the people below them. He feels bad that it didn't work out at his shop, and he wants to make sure he's doing the right thing. And the other one is the broker that's looking out for themselves. I'm going to transition out of being a broker. We're going to move them from broker to leader. You're still going to love on your people. You're still going to train them and mentor them and teach them, much like Sean and Eric, but you'll no longer be responsible for their transactional process. And those are the 2 kinds of brokers we deal with. The second they say, well, how much money's in it for me? You know what kind of broker you're talking about. I always have this conflict when they say, I'm doing this for my agents and I want the best for my agents, but I want to also maximize how much money I'm getting. And there's 2 ways to do that. Sean and Eric can talk to you about the different team structures, but it's when they say, I want everybody on my team to transition over at full cap and be their own agent. You know that they're just doing it because they want to step out of the business.
But let's look at both of those for a moment. You got the broker who's mostly interested in themselves, and then the broker who's more altruistic, humanitarian, interested in the group that he or she's assembled. Is it fair to say both of those brokers end up coming? I don't all come. But
yeah.
It doesn't matter what their perspective. Isn't it pretty fair to say, if they'll tell you what their motivation is, at EXP, we have a way to work a system, a strategy to give them what they want. All they've got to do is admit it from the beginning. Is that true?
It's absolutely true. You hit it on the head. When I go into an interview with a broker, I ask them what their objective is. Are they looking to transition out of real estate and into just a leadership coaching position? Or are they looking to expand their real estate team? Inevitably, almost all the time, they're looking to grow their real estate team. They're in it for the agents. If they're looking to move into a coaching leadership position, they're really looking at a way out. EXP is the only way out. I mean, none of the other companies that we've discussed here have a built-in retirement plan. None of them have any leveraged income or stock ownership, or there's no way out. And the valuations, whenever a broker says my brokerage is worth millions, Kim can laugh at that. One company does about 95% of all the valuations for brokerages in the United States. It's Real Trends. And they must giggle themselves to sleep. Now I got another one that says this brokerage is worth millions. What do you own in a brokerage? You don't own the agents. You don't own the building, unless you own the building, but 99% of them don't own the building. They don't own the copiers, and the copier leases are $8,000. Their coffee bill is $1,600 a month. Their pressboard furniture is about the only thing they paid for in cash. And when they go through and say, okay, you have about $200,000 worth of assets here. And they're like, no, it's worth millions. No, all of you are independent contractors. No one owns you. You all run your own businesses. Those don't get put into a valuation. So when the broker goes, well, my brokerage is worth millions, I've got a huge name. That's when you know that they're banking on getting millions. You've all worked with a home seller with unreasonable expectations. We deal with that every day. They want to sell. They just want to sell it for millions.
Well, start it with virtually nothing, pour yourself into it, and sell it for millions. That's what they thought from the beginning. It's unfortunate they can't find that buyer, and they become fewer and farther between as the market continues to do what the market's continuing to do. Let's close this one last session about brokers, then we'll transition to agents themselves. But from a brokerage standpoint, you're at a position where, if I'm correct, we talk to a broker, we share some information with the broker, they understand the model to some basic understanding. At that point, we want to introduce them to someone that's a vice president of growth at EXP. So we bring them to you. Often we bring them to you and they haven't seen a lot, or they haven't seen enough, or sometimes they've seen too much. If you were designing the strategy, and let's say you were teaching each of the people listening to you right now, because you are teaching each of the people listening to you right now, these are the steps that I would recommend. Being Sean, you're the person recommending it. I'd recommend you do this with them and this with them, and then bring them to me. What would that strategy look like?
The hardest part is even bringing EXP up in a conversation. Be aware the first rule of EXP is don't talk about EXP. So getting the person to a point where they actually say, so tell me about EXP. You're building a relationship, and EXP should never leave your words. Pretend you're on Breaking Bad. We're not going to talk about what we do. Then when you're asked specifically, tell me about your company, you turn it around. You don't do that. You say, you know what? You can give them my short speech is, if I were to tell you that EXP gave away half of everything they ever made to their agents, gave you ownership in the company, had a fully funded retirement plan, healthcare for the agents, and a really low-cost financial model for transactions, would you be willing to sit down with my friend Eric Golden to at least explore the opportunity? Even if you just use the information to justify where you're currently at, or help your current company with their retention. That's it. You don't want to be the information. Doesn't matter what your production level is, doesn't matter what their production level is. You're going to take it to an independent third party, because for some reason that holds validity. Like Eric said, it's not bragging because he asked. Well, I recommended you talk to somebody else. When somebody asks me about EXP directly, I actually have a script. And this is recorded and you can use it. The script is this. It's 32 seconds long. I say, you know what, Sean? I'm going to do you a favor. I have a friend named Eric Golden who can explain to you in 15 minutes what'll take me an hour and a half, and I'm going to miss a ton of stuff. And I believe this to be so important to you and your family and your business, because if I would have gotten this information correctly 7 years ago, we'd be having this conversation on my jet, my boat, my yacht, whatever you want to say, on my jet. So if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to get Eric on the phone and we can have a three-way conversation, because I believe this information is going to change your life. And that's it. I want to get him to Eric. I'm going to tell all of you right here. Don't send out anybody else's video. Don't send out anybody else's marketing. Dave needs to have his own video. Gary needs to have his own video. Sean has his own video. Now for your group, yes, but don't go sending out YouTube videos from even EXP agents, because this is what inevitably happens. Eric's talking to me. Eric says, I want you to watch this video. I watch the video. I go, you know what? That guy in the video is fantastic. I'm going to contact him directly. I want you to make your own video and your own branded marketing material if you're not using the Freedom Group's marketing material, because it does matter. I have two partners and both of them went and independently researched EXP. There's lots of stuff out there, and they both are independently attracted to two different sponsorship groups now. And it's turning into a nightmare where they were done. They were signing on. They have LOIs. They have letters of intent to sign on, but it got cloudy. So you want to get them to a prearranged third-party validation. I could call up Kim and say, you know what, I'm gonna set you up for, you pick 2 hours during the week and I will set up my third parties for that 2 hours, and I'll do 2 hours for you on a third-party validation. Doesn't matter if I'm the vice president in North America for EXP. It doesn't matter if I'm an agent in Central Florida. The third-party validation itself is the key, because from that point, after he does an EXP explain in a third-party validation, they're going to do more research. We're going to send them more marketing materials. It doesn't matter who you are at what level. You should not be doing your own attraction if they have interest in hearing about EXP. Great. It shouldn't be you that takes their hand from there on out. They would come to me for 3 things. Eric asks. They come to the vice president to meet somebody in a company they're about to move their lives, their family, and their business to ask questions about structure or finances that they don't understand or their sponsor doesn't have answers for, like, what do I do with my property management company? What do I do with a physical office if I'm not a designated broker? Stuff like that. Or they come to me to figure out a financial way to transition to EXP. You're a 10 agent, you're a 10 office franchise, you have expenses that you're going to have long after you transition to EXP. How can we make that happen? So they'll come to me to figure out a financial deal or get a cap deferment or a split adjustment to keep their top agent. Most of all, they're coming to me as that final, I've already made up my mind. They're 99%. If they're still talking to you after 3 meetings, I got news for you. Nobody comes back to an open house 3 times just because they like the cabinets. They're going to buy the place. You need to lock, the 3rd time they walk in, you need to lock the door and say, I want to give you some private time in your new house. So it's the same thing. EXP, they've heard about it. They can spell it. They probably watched a lot of videos on it. And if not, talked to another sponsor in the past. They're now just trying to make up their mind. And they may even be sponsorship shopping, which is why I want you to have your own market material. They want to see if there's a difference in what they can get from different sponsorship groups. Every sponsorship group has a different value proposition, whether it's coaching, it's concierge service, it's technology, it's lead generation. It's the I love my broker. We're just all good buddies, you know, we've all played golf together. We actually have those groups. They're just good buddies. So everybody has a value proposition they can add to that person. And you have a multi-level value proposition. You've got Sean Sturrock, who's the master of talking to these large corporations. You've got Eric Golden, who's the lead generator. So you have multi-levels within your organization. You know,
we also have Kim Herrera running it from behind.
Yeah, I'm going to steal her at some point, so you just better watch out there.
You said steal her back is what you.
Yeah,
she
steal
was
her.
your recommendation.
Steal her back. Kim was my lead administrator and partner when we ran a brokerage prior to this.
No.
yeah,
Then
they
you're
get
going to have to
special.
ask, are we a European soccer or football club? Because then you have to pay us millions just to negotiate to hold her back. It's one of
Yep.
those situations. You mentioned something that I want to go from, and by the way, great answers. I'm loving this, great material for us, and those that are listening, I'm sure, are getting a charge out of it as well. One of the things you talk about is that a value proposition. I want to remind everybody that within this Freedom Team, you can go to freedomteamsupport.com and see all of the things that we as a group, about 3,000 of us strong, 44 states and about 8 countries now. There's a reason why we've come together, and it's all presented through freedomteamsupport.com. Now, with that said, Sean, let's shift, if you will, now to the agents themselves. One of the things you do is talk to brokers. One of the things you do is talk to large teams. But I know you also talk to agents that are in the middle of thinking about coming over, especially if they're high volume agents.
Mhm.
Can you briefly tell us, even in today's world, because it's shifted over the last few years, people are coming more and more aware of us, and there's some other companies that are coming down the pike that think they're us, they just haven't grown up yet. So would you address a little bit about that?
Well, I mean, everybody says, imitation's the best form of flattery, and it is if you're truly imitating. If you're a good model, if you're a Keller Williams in the 90s, it was a great model. There was no EXP around. They were an innovative model. Before that, Remax. We're going to have these small, affordable franchises. Keller Williams came and said, we're going to cap our fees. People are like, Satan has entered the building, because before it was unlimited. Eric would do $100 million, and I was going to get 15 or 20% of all of it. And then Gary Keller said, we're going to cap our fees. Well, the next evolution was the virtual and offering more streams of income. And Dave Liniger at Remax couldn't do that because he didn't own the company. He was a franchiser. And Gary went, franchiser, I don't own the company. I can't actually sell people shares of it. And I can't start a revenue share model because we're already 50,000 people deep. What do I tell the first 50,000? Sorry, you got on too early. Well, now we have copycats that say they're copycats, and that's where it really goes wrong. When Glenn built this business, he didn't borrow any money. When Glenn built this business, he designed, and people go, why do we have 25% to the team leader on a $4,000 cap, for a mega icon team, or on an $8,000 cap? Well, everything he designed there was to keep us financially solvent every step of the way. So Glenn developed a system where we stayed financially solvent, no matter what we did. Nobody at EXP, not even our top team, is on anything other than an 80-20 split. I can guarantee I've never offered anything other than an 80-20 split up to their cap. The way we designed ourselves is, okay, we start in 2009. He scrounges to try and get the agent base, like Derek said, at a certain number of agents, it starts being profitable. He scrounges to get there, and we slowly build our infrastructure. Now, copycat comes into the game. Can they just start? Because I know some of these copycats are very wealthy people. They're not going to scrounge their way to anything. So they buy their infrastructure and they say they're a copycat. There's one in Florida. He has physical office spaces. It's not a copycat. 5 levels of an ever decreasing revenue share model, which means the harder you work and the more you build, the less you get paid, because it's not sustainable. His model isn't sustainable. So he has to take more and more of every level to stay sustainable. It's like an upside down pyramid. I mean, I don't want to call us a pyramid, but we actually have a pyramid that looks like this for revenue share payout. And he's got one that looks like this because he's not sustainable in a large agent, that 5th level gets wide. He's like, well, I can't nearly, math doesn't work out. Same thing with our closest competitor, Copycat. He borrowed all the money to get going, in all 50 states in Canada. He owes a ton of money. His Q4 revenue disclosure on the NASDAQ was he has yet to be profitable. His stocks haven't moved at all. I think somebody just asked me, what is the 3 years of stock with EXP versus some other companies? And because EXP is gaining in stock, you don't see it, but even though it says our stock is 1540, it's actually twice that because it's split. If you joined 3 years ago, which that's when your stock is vested, so your stock's actually in the 30s right now, and the other ones are in the $1 range and have been since they were invented, since they transitioned from the Toronto Stock Exchange. They're the exact same value. And all that tells you is that every analyst on the planet understands they have no value. Nobody's investing. There's no institutional investors. There's a lot of debt. So I don't see them coming out of that if they're not profitable. You can't buy your way out of debt if you're not showing a profit. So the copycats that we have are kind of, they bought into the model. They paid Compass style. They paid agents to come to the model. And they're hoping that everybody misinterprets them as being a copycat. They're hoping, their dream is like, oh, they're a carbon copy of EXP. Okay, so you are 100% profitable. You have enough money to buy back all your stocks off of the street so you don't get diluted. You already have your staff set up in 50 states and 23 countries. Some of these other companies have one broker watching 3 states. They have hundreds to one when it comes to broker or staff support. And we have 23,000 people on staff at EXP. We didn't get there overnight. If you were to talk to Glenn in 2010 or 2014 or even 2015, he would have said, I don't know. I mean, it's a tough road. And then we did the right things. We brought on the right people. We evolve. We change. People go, oh, people are gonna catch up to us. Then stop moving forward. You're presupposing that we stopped and we're stationary and there's an ability to catch up to us. We didn't stop. Every day, Glenn keeps moving us forward, forward, forward. So we keep that distance. Even if you're keeping pace with us, you're not going to catch us. And all ships rise and lower with the tide. I want to tell you this. We just don't lower as much and we rise further. We are the most profitable independent real estate company on the planet, aside from Zillow Enterprises, which is actually considered in the real estate market. CoStar is considered a marketing company on the exchange, which they are. They just market properties. So there is nobody even close to us when it comes to profitability and overall valuation.
We're getting, as the chat boxes have stated, many people have been talking about how great the information is today. We've got just a couple more questions. Appreciate your knowledge, your experience, and your willingness to share that with us today. Let's break this off and talk about what I still consider to be a quasi-competitor in whatever clothing, and that's the 100% brokerage, the one that charges just a transaction only. And I know that you have great experience because, again, you competed against them when you were at KW for years, right? And now, again, we're with EXP. How do we favorably, let me say it differently than you would expect. I want you to frame the minds of the people listening, the people that are out there talking to other agents, attracting or recruiting people, and they are going to hear, yeah, but I'm at 100%, or I'm at 100% brokerage. I only pay a transaction fee. How should we think about that? And then secondly, what should we say to them when they lay that on us? But it starts with, how should we think about us versus the 100% brokerage?
Well, raise your hand if you're a broker, a real estate broker, like a designated managing broker. They're 100% brokerage. The most profitable real estate model is single agent broker. You have the least amount of expenses. Yet we have 20,000 of them. So it all comes down to, what are you getting for the money you're paying? What is the value you're paying? I wouldn't hesitate to say that at 100% brokerage model, you're not getting anything. You're getting a broker, designated managing broker to oversee your transactions at a compliance level. There's also a break-even point that you have to understand. Say you're at a HomeSmart or whatever, and they're a $695 broker per transaction brokerage. How many $695 transactions does it take to cap at EXP? So you want to know how many transactions it's going to take before they would even cap at EXP. How many transactions does it take for them to icon? And say, look, it may look like you're saving your way to prosperity by being at your 100% brokerage. Are you growing? Do you have the mentors? God help them if they're the #1 agent, because that means every other agent at their brokerage is asking them questions. I say, do you have the technology? Do you have the national footprint? Do you have healthcare? Do you have any ownership in your company? Do you get any leveraged income? Do you get any income you don't have to work for at your current company? And look at them, say, I could slave myself to death in real estate, knowing that my last sale was my last dollar. My objective here is to find a better way to make money and residual income, so that at some point, when you're as old as me, you don't have to sell houses. You know, if you're self-employed, you are doing not only all the work, you're paying all your self-employment tax, you're working the hardest. A broker's just that one level above that. As a small business owner, they're still showing up to work every day and working themselves to death. Your objective in all business is to get to investor. You want to be the investor. At EXP, you become the investor. You invest your time, money, and people into EXP, and it pays you residual dividends in rev share, in stocks. I have 160 people that join us a month just for our healthcare. My personal healthcare was $2,864 at Keller Williams. That was with a $250 spiff that the investors gave us. That was it, $2,864. I know that because Kim Herrera had to negotiate that every year. I came to EXP, first thing I did was went to Clearwater Health Benefits, which is an EXP partner. I filled out the application and they sent me back my quote and it said $645. And I went, no, I have my child and my wife as well. And they said, no, same exact company. Blue Cross, Silver 70, $40 copay, vision and dental, $643. That was a $20,000 savings. I went, I should have joined EXP on the side a long time ago, just get $20,000 off my health care. Well, then I found out recently that we have 160 agents a month that join us just to get $20,000 off their health care. And I go, if you're going to spend $20,000 more by coming to EXP, yeah, don't come. But I have a feeling that you're not going to even spend $20,000 at EXP. That's like the side break even. But I always tell this, most of you have bought, and this will be a quick one, Eric, but it's gonna go fast. Most of you have bought a product on the edge of obsolescence. An internal combustion car, raise your hand if you still have some incandescent light bulbs or Christmas lights or holiday lights. You have CDs. You read a newspaper or a magazine. So most of you bought a product on the edge of obsolescence. You can see that there's a newer product being adopted by consumers. but you're either comfortable with the utility or of the older product, or you're getting a superior value or savings by using it. That's the old brokerage and the 100% brokerage model. They're used to it. They're comfortable with it. Same thing happens in the brokerage business. Hundreds of thousands of agents select their brokerage the same way they select a plumber or a lawnmower. Most newer agents discover their brokerage by word of mouth, brand marketing, and to a lesser, brand marketing to the lesser degree, but finally they may look at some online reviews. I'm serious, that's as far as they take it. You need to be the source of information. You're the online review. Even if it's what you call obtrusive, even if you're in their face, it's like a listing. You want to be in their face. It's not if they're going to get mad at their broker, it's when. After conducting thousands of interviews, I can tell you, I've not found one agent that asked to discuss my brokerage business plan or financial stability. Never. What's the company's profitability? That would shock the heck out of me if somebody actually asked that. How many people, how many producing agents do you have? I've never had an agent ask for any proof that my brokerage knew how to run a business. Well, we have all the statistics that we know how to run a business. If you were to ask my last brokerage region to show me the books, you would get a big, huge negative bracketed red number. If you were to ask the other copycat companies to show me your books, you would get a big, huge negative bracketed red number. Realogy, big, huge negative bracketed red number. Doesn't matter who you pick. You're going to have the only company that doesn't have a negative bracketed red number and say, so you want to hitch your wagon to number 23 on the list of top brokerages. You want to hitch your wagon to somebody who is showing that they don't know how to run a business themselves. They're hoping. The CEO of Compass actually said his plan to achieve profitability was to improve agent economics. Anyone know what that means?
Change the numbers.
Charge the agents more. That's his plan. He's going to recover $1.5 billion a year by improving, to the company side, the agent economics. So he is now going back to all those agents that are on 90/10s and say, no, you have to go to an 80/20 according to this structure that we've come up with. Any agent looking to leave that company has to pay back everything they ever gave them, including the value of the stock at the original issue price, not that it's almost worthless today. So, but improving agent economics is not what you want to join. Glenn is consistently adding value and adding programs and adding lead generation sources and adding technology and not asking for one more penny from the agents. No improving agent economics. You get more for nothing. And it keeps getting more and more for nothing. I literally look at what he's doing and adding with things that he's working on right now, which he's got a big announcement coming. I can't disclose any of it. I'll be fired. And I'm like, and you're not charging anything else. You're not, no higher monthlies, no higher transaction fees, no higher caps, nothing. Like, nope. Because we don't pay for those offices. We don't pay for the HR staff at each location. We don't pay for a lot of our insurance. We self-insure to a great degree on a lot of our stuff. It's just looking out for the people. Glenn doesn't need the money. He cut his salary. He offered to cut his salary in half through the downturn so we didn't have to lay people off. His compensation at Inman, he stated, I'm going to reduce my compensation by 50% so that we don't have to get into that. So.
You're a good guy to have on our side, that's for sure. You sit there and say, as I close today, and by the way, thank you so much for everything that you've shared. We've got the right guy in the right spot, no question about that. It's nice to have you on our side. I would like to give you a final comment or something before I close out. You always have these statistics. You've laid a whole bunch of them on us today. Those of you that are part of the Freedom Team, we will deliver this recording through Workplace, of course, to the Freedom Team feed. Don't hesitate there. And for those of you that want some sound bites from it, just come into any of the Asian Attraction classes on Monday or Thursday and ask about those. We'll give you access to little sound bites of all the interviews that we do, so you can utilize them to talk to other agents on your behalf. Sean, anything to close with?
You found the right bus, go in the right direction, take advantage of all the tools that you have. And I know that the only reason that all of you aren't at an Eric Golden and Sean Sturrock level is a little bit of fear. Man, if you can just conquer that, you can conquer the whole world. It's right there in front of you. This is actually, statistically, we're bringing on more people today per day than we were when Sean started this. There's more opportunity today. And I thought, oh, opportunities going by the wayside. No, I'm bringing on 10 office franchises. I have the top team leaders in the world contacting me, and they were all, we're never comings. They're all coming. Be the person, be the friend, be the source of information, and go have fun. The more parties you throw and the more events you attend, faster you grow. So whatever you do, have fun doing it. Don't take it too seriously. But yes, be the smartest person in the room and don't try to recruit people to EXP.
Appreciate all that you've shared. I want to dovetail off of what you said to close with my final remarks. And that's this, Kathy Carter, this morning on the tip of the day, we're now sending out a tip, everyone, to your email. Please listen to that 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute tip. It does shape your day. She talked about conscious versus subconscious. And you referenced a minute ago, Sean, as I close, the fact that we're not charging anybody anything more. And here's the truth. Here's the only thing we've ever been charged. We've been charging people the ability for them to trust that we're leading them in the right direction. And where do you look at that? You look at the leaders and see if they're still in the game. We are. You look at the company and see if they're solvent and financially stable. We are. And you look at the technology and ask if we're continuing to meet our agents' needs where we can find that technology in the marketplace, and we are. Ladies and gentlemen, you're in the right place at the right time. As Sean just said, it's a better time now than it was 5 years ago. Let's go ahead and get started. Mr. Murphy, thank you so much for your time. Everybody, make it a great February.
Talk to you later.
Thanks a lot.